Yeah, this is Kwame. I guess the chat was telling me to call in
Uh,
because I was just kind of confused about the title, saying that New York is irrelevant, which is the birthplace of hip hop, has the
I didn't say. Hold on,
the
hold on, hold
number
on, hold
one.
on, hold on, hold on. The title doesn't say New York is irrelevant.
That's what I'm reading. It says New
Where?
York. It says, let me reread the title. Is New York, Africa, and the South overrated in black
Yeah,
music?
overrated, not irrelevant, overrated.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, the Bronx is the birth of hip hop. Most of the African griots will influence jazz and Congo Square, which is the birthplace of jazz.
What Hold on, hold on, hold on.
And
What African griot was in Congo Square? Black people weren't allowed to assimilate
the
freely.
well, I guess you're not aware of Congo Square,
No,
which is the
I know
birthplace of
Congo
jazz.
Square, but I also know that in Congo Square, the majority of people, the majority of blacks in New Orleans, they had gotten when after slavery during the first Great Migration, those are blacks from all across the South, along with indigenous blacks that left plantation that left not plantations left their tribes to move to New Orleans for work, and the black indigenous and the black former slave were forced into the same neighborhoods in the
What,
1870s, and that's how you get
what's a
jazz.
black indigenous?
A black indigenous is a Cherokee, a Choctaw, a Poarch, people who were on tribal lands who chose to relocate to the city for work.
Are you talking about the tribes that had black slaves?
No, I'm not talking about. Did you hear what I just said? I
Yeah,
was
I know
very
the Cherokee
clear.
had black
I was
slaves.
very clear on what I said. I'm talking about
Yeah, but the
people.
Cherokee had black slaves. They wasn't
Some
originally black.
tribes have some tribes most definitely had slaves, and oftentimes those were people that were buying their family back that were captured into slavery by white former slave patrollers that were capturing people and selling them off into slavery. And a lot of those people came back. Were there some indigenous
I,
tribes that were, as prisoners of war, kept some slaves? Yes, but there were also far more people in the Poarch Nation, in the Algonquin nations in the upper northeast, down south regions, the Poarch regions, the Muskogee regions. A lot of those people who are on tribal land, this is a fact. When slavery ended, it's economics like it is now. The same way you have Native Americans who are on Apache reservations say, you know what? Before the casinos came, ain't enough money. I gotta go work down at that factory to bring money back. Same thing happened in New Orleans, and that's what was going on in New Orleans. Because the fact of the matter is, very few African slaves that were brought to America, they were brought to Virginia and South Carolina, not to New Orleans. That's a
yeah,
fact.
I don't think any expert in the field would
I
agree
don't
with
know.
that. But I
I
just
don't know.
wanted
No,
to.
no, 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 no. You don't have to think. I'm gonna need you to pick up a book yourself, brother. I'm gonna need you to know that.
Uh,
I'm gonna need you to know that the
I
African,
mean, I could pick up a
the
book, but there's no
400,000, the
expert.
400, the 350,000 slaves that came from Africa went to South Carolina and Virginia. That's a fact. Not
Yeah,
New
but
Orleans.
the French had slaves too from Africa,
The French had less than
and
20,
those.
and the French had less than 23,000 slaves. And guess what? When those French slaves came to America, they weren't allowed to bring any musical traditions to America. And the French slaves stopped coming in the 1790s. And they imported between them getting that land and them selling that land in the Louisiana Purchase of 1804, they brought in less than 25,000 slaves. So by the time you get to the 1880s, 1890s, 1900s, I'm really the 1910s is when jazz is really taking form. By the time you get into the 1910s, you're now more than 100 years removed from when the French had that land.
Yeah, maybe you could put some experts in the chat
No, no, I'm an
in the
expert.
field
No, no, no,
that
no, no, no,
agree.
no. I'm an expert. You're talking to the expert.
What degrees you hold?
Here's one of them. Let me show you. How many degrees you got? One of my degrees,
I'm not an expert in this
one of
field. I'm
my
asking
degrees
you,
is in
are you an
communication
expert?
studies from Cal State Northridge. My minor was in cultural anthropology. My degree is on how to trace culture and trace lineage and how to communicate said findings. That's what my college degree is. What's yours?
Yeah, but
No, 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 no. You asked the
you're
question. No,
not
no,
an
no, 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 no,
you're not
no.
an
No, 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 no,
archaeologist. You're
no,
not
no,
a
no, no, no.
paleontologist.
You asked the question. Of course, I'm not. You know what an archaeologist does?
Yeah,
An archaeologist finds bones. I'm not dealing with
yeah,
bones.
but you're not a
I'm dealing with
paleontologist. You're not.
No, you don't even know what is a paleontologist. They deal with dinosaurs. I deal with anthropology.
Paleontological
Hold on, hold on,
don't
hold on, hold on, hold
dynasty,
on.
but
Anthropology is the study, cultural anthropology is the study of culture and how to trace culture. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about bones in the ground. We're talking about tracing culture. So, yes, sir, I have a degree. Where's yours?
yeah, but I was just
Oh,
going
no,
to
no, no,
say
no, no, no,
you're trying to
stop, stop,
rewrite.
stop, 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 stop.
I don't have a
Okay, you
degree.
answered that
I don't have
question.
a degree in those.
Thank you. Now
Yeah,
go ahead.
I see you trying to rewrite the the origins of hip hop, which is already established in
Hold
New
on,
York
hold on,
City.
hold on. Again, I don't know if you were here earlier. I said I'm not going to allow people to rewrite what I said. I never rewrote the origins of hip hop. I said when it came to what happened in New York created a sound that was good for New York. But when it came to hip hop, the growth of hip hop, the brothers like Too Short that created it in Oakland created in his own vein and style. He didn't do what New York said. He actually said it in an interview I played yesterday. He didn't do what New York did. He created his hip hop in the context and the feeling of Oakland. The same way Toddy
Yeah,
T,
it was
the
influenced.
same way Toddy
Yeah,
T created his hip hop in reflection with LA. The same way Rico Wade and Outkast, they created their hip hop in the context and the sound of Atlanta. That's what I said.
okay, I could agree with that. Hip hop is is birthed in New York by a mix of Afro
And there
Caribbean.
is nope, that's another lie. Because what there was, let's go to the whole part about birth in New York. What new? I'm gonna ask you a question. What new did New York give to music? That when you say new, it was created in New York. What new came in that creation
Right,
that didn't exist before? What was new that didn't
right.
exist?
Toasting, breaking beats,
No, okay,
the
let's
scratching
go there.
technique by.
Toasting, no, Black Americans didn't get it from toasting. Toasting, when you say toasting, you mean like cracking jokes and like talking and like kind of talking shit in the music.
No, I'm talking about
That's what
the
toasting is.
DJ. Yeah, talking over the beat, things like
Well,
that.
okay, let me give you an example. I'm gonna let you talk, but I'm going line by line. No, toasting did not come
Yeah,
from Jamaica. We were toasting in our music or cracking jokes. Cox and Dine said it himself. He got it from the Americans. Let me give you an example to show you my bullshitting. There's a song by Louis Jordan, the original rapper, the father, the godfather of what we call R&B, was a man named Louis Jordan. He used to rap and he used to toast in his music.
Jack, they're looking for a husband. And you're listening to a man that knows. They're not hungry. They ain't fooling. And if you fool around with them, you're going to get yourself a schooling.
That's Louis Jordan, a song called Brother Beware, where the whole song he's talking over the beat and he's toasting, telling brothers to beware of certain kind of women, certain kind of hussies that be going around, that be stealing money from brothers. The same shit they talk about in hip hop. That's Louis Jordan talk about that in 1951. You got songs like this, Choo 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 Boogie.
The mouth the clickety clack. And hear the lonesome whistle, see the smoke from the stack. And pal around with Democrats.
Is he not rapping? Yes, he is. So
I mean, rapping
that
is just one
doesn't that
form of
does
hip.
but no
Just
no I
one
just gave
form.
you said toasting. So
Just one element. Just one
I
element.
just disproved that toasting comes from Jamaica. No, it was already in our music. I just
No, you really
you know I
didn't.
did. No,
But
I did. I just played you a song where they're toasting. I just played one for you.
I mean,
Want another one?
it's well
I'll give
known.
you
It's
another one.
well known that
I'll give you another
toasting.
one. I'll give you another person.
Yeah, Grandmaster
Before
Flash.
Louis Jordan, there was a man called Fats Waller. And he had a song where he's talking about women, talking about toasting, called Your Feet's Too Big.
Up in Harlem at a table for two. There were four of us. Me, your big feet, and you.
There were four of us. Me, your big feet, and you. That's toasting. That's clowning. That song was from 1926. That's why I asked a simple question. What did New York bring to music that did not exist before Cool Herc? And the answer is, before you bug out, the answer is nothing. There was nothing.
I mean, if that's your conclusion, I mean, nobody agree with
No,
that. But
everyone agrees with me. Matter of fact, if you want scholarship, I would ask you to pick up this book called African American Music, if you can find it. And in this book, it's talking about the continuum of Black American music going back to the 1800s, and it shows how hip hop was evolved. This is what we call a scholarly journal. This isn't a Fat Joe interview. This isn't a Busta Rhymes talk. These are music professors from that teach in music universities and universities around the country, and they're showing how the whole hip hop situation came from bebop, came from jazz, came from blues, came from ragtime, came from spirituals. This is academic. This is one book. I have multiple books I can show you. Death of Rhythm and Blues by Nelson George, Soul American, how the Black American music transformed white culture. That book talks about it. There's another book here called Race Music, and it talks about all the different music that led up and how hip hop, just like blues, just like jazz, just like everything else, was race music, and it was named off racial terms. Bebop, that's all that bebop, bibbity bop. Hip hop, what's all that hip hop, hippity hop? They were even named in the same form and fashion because of the race of the people creating
Who
the
coined
music.
the term hip hop?
Boy, the term hip hop came off the streets. It was really particular rap music. Some white person ended up coining the term. I forgot who it was. Some white folks ended up
No, it was
coining it.
actually African Bambaataa.
And
He coined the
so,
term.
no, before Africa Bambaataa. And Africa Bambaataa is somebody that's been a proven liar. He's also a child molester. And he's somebody who, when it comes to the Zulu Nation, according to Africa Bambaataa himself, he was imitating one nation, the Funk Nation, George Clinton. That's why Africa Bambaataa wore the Egyptian stuff. That comes from George Clinton. That comes from Parliament Funkadelic. That the Zulu Nation was patterned after George Clinton's Funk Nation. It wasn't just the beats. It was also the culture and the different nations of musicians that were under the umbrella of George Clinton. That's a fact.
Right.
I learned that from Africa Bambaataa.
I respect I respect your scholarship, brother. I just feel like you're doing revisionist
I'm
history.
not doing
like,
a whole, and I hear you saying, but look, that's why I made it very clear. I'm not here for people's feelings. You can look, you have the right to feel however you want to feel. I'm not here to change how you feel. I'm only here to give people proof as to what I'm saying. Now, you can like it, you can not like it, you cannot care.
No, I respect it. I respect it. You're trying to do revisionist history
It's,
of,
no,
of
no, no, no,
something
no.
that's well established.
Let's make it very clear. This is not revisionist history. This Cool Herc starting hip hop shit, that's revisionist history. Even the brother who took the Source magazine photo I covered on this very show about 2 months ago, he didn't even, he said had he known the founders of hip hop would have been the title, he wouldn't have took the picture because there's more brothers there. They cropped all the other black men out and only put those three. The photographer himself said he would not have taken that picture had he known that was going to be the title because that wasn't true. That's revisionist history. What I'm doing is I'm pointing out to people the history that existed when I took music history courses in college 25 years ago. This was normal conversation in academia. You ask me about my background? My background is in college. And I took 6 different music history courses in college, and this was just the normal thing until the last few years. The last few years is the revisionist history. Just giving you information.
Yeah, brother, but nobody protests when they rename Cool Herc Block Hip Hop Avenue. Nobody protests.
That's fine. That's fine.
Nobody protests at the
That's
hip hop
fine. Do
museum
you know that
just opened in the Bronx.
no one
About
no one protested a street being named after Charlie Kirk in Orange County last week. No one protested that. So what?
yeah. So
Okay, you got a street named after him. So what?
yeah, you got the street named Hip Hop Avenue.
Great.
The
Like,
hip hop museum just
but
opened
that
in the
doesn't.
Bronx.
Most people don't know the difference between the predicate and the verb. So fine. But the academics, the academia, along with the sound when you hear it in the music, that right there is undisputable. Now, if people want to go ahead and believe the convenient lie, because that's a very convenient lie to say that, hey, this grand form of music started at this one origin point. And even when you take it from that point of view, nothing in hip hop is new. Hip hop ain't got its own beat. Hip hop ain't got its own slang. Hip hop ain't got nothing original. Everything it takes from the music that came
Yeah,
before it. Everything.
yeah, I understand what you're saying, but if you like Carl Benz is the founder of the automobile, but Carl Benz didn't create the engine, he didn't create the wheel, he didn't create anything associated with the car, but he used all the elements to make a car to create the car. It's no different with Kool Herc. He used
No,
different
no, no. It's
elements that
very
was
no.
already existed.
It's very different. It's not the same because I would say that okay, no one invent like James Brown didn't invent music. The drums existed, the bass existed, the blues, the harmonies, the melodies all existed. Now, what James Brown did was he took all those things that already existed and he flipped the timing of it, the tempo, the groove, and the feeling, and created funk. What hip hop did was take what James Brown did and minimize it into a 2-bar loop and rapped over top of it. It didn't do anything new. It didn't change the integral structure of the music the way James Brown did. It literally took what James Brown did and and um and just rapped over top of it. Like hip hop, like this beat right here. Hip hop didn't create its own version of this. Hip hop didn't create its own version of this beat.
If you didn't want to be in here, I know you got soul.
What hip hop did was it took the exact same beat and looped it for 2 bars and just rapped over top of it. That's what I mean by hip hop didn't create nothing new. It literally took what was already existing. It didn't change anything. It didn't change anything with this structure.
Right.
It just said, "I'm gonna take what's already here and rap over top." That's all hip hop did.
Yeah,
Way
but
different
like I
than Benz
said,
creating than Benz creating a Mercedes. Way different.
it's similar. It's
No, it's
similar
not
because
similar.
Carl Benz he didn't create anything. He just took different elements of things and
No, James Brown did create. James Brown took a sound that before James Brown James Brown did his thing. This is how music was sounding. That's how music was sounding. He literally changed the core component of how music was sounding before he got onto it. And he this is how music was sounding before James Brown. He took that sound and in Stacks, you had it sounding like this down in Stacks. Down in the South, it was sounding like. He took these sounds. He took all of these sounds. He took those sounds, and what he did was instead of staying in the same mold as those sounds like hip hop, what hip hop would have done with those sounds would have been limited to a 2-bar loop, and then just rap over top it. James Brown said, "No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna change the emphasis. I'm gonna change the core component on how the music is layered, and I'm gonna come with this hard." James Brown made the music hard. Rap already existed before James Brown. But when James Brown made the beat hard, that's what created the pocket for now rap music to have its own lane. Because rap music, before James Brown made the beat hard, was just a component of a song. It was just a breakdown of a song. It wasn't the main chorus. James Brown making the music hard, it gave the hip hop producers something to sample. Hip hop didn't make the music harder. They didn't do anything new structural wise to make the music outside of, okay, I'm gonna give you one more example. I was talking about this in my class earlier. You express the song like "Express Yourself." This is West Coast hip hop. Going back into how New York ain't got nothing to do with how we did music in LA. "Express Yourself" was 1969 funk out of LA. Charles Wright and the Watts 103rd Street Band. That's how we did it. Watts 103rd Street Band out of LA.
Then, you from LA?
Yeah, and then NWA took that same song, sampled it, and just put and all Dr. Dre did was put a thicker kick on it.
They don't flow like this one. You know what? I won't hesitate to diss one or two before I'm through. So
He just took the same song and put an 808 kick on it. But
Okay.
that's the most evolution you're going to get out of hip hop, emphasizing drum and bass out of a song that already exists.
Okay. Like I said, I respect, you know, I respect your you know, your motivation on everything, on, you know, and now that I know that you're from Los Angeles, it kind of all makes sense now.
No, that doesn't. No, stop it. We're not again. Hey, folks, that doesn't have anything to do with none of this shit. It's the fact that Black America has a sound. Where are you from, by the way?
I'm from New York.
What about before New York?
Jamaica.
There we go. Now that makes sense. That makes sense. And here's why it makes sense. When we were creating all this culture, you weren't here. So it doesn't make sense to you. I'm making this because your family wasn't here for Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Your family wasn't here for.
What you mean not here? Well,
in America. Your family wasn't in America for Louis Armstrong. Your family wasn't in America for Fats Waller. Your parents weren't in America, and if they were, they were listening to soca. They weren't in America for none of this experience. Your family got to America, and you guys came into a rich culture, just like Kool Herc, that was already existing, and your first interaction with American culture comes from the perspective of hip hop. So to you, this is a starting point. It's an origin point because your bloodline just wasn't here when the rest of that stuff was being created. So it makes sense that you feel that way.
Afro-Caribbean.
No, you say you're from Jamaica. No, we're talking.
Yeah.
You say your family. You guys were not here when this rich culture was going on. So to you, you have a different perspective on the music that versus those of us who grew up with our grandmamas listening to Louis Jordan. Your grandmama wasn't listening to Louis Jordan.
Brother, I have a perspective of the consensus. You got a perspective.
No. Exactly. You have the perspective of somebody who don't know what the fuck they talking about because you weren't here. It's simple.
I'm leaning on the consensus and the eyewitness accounts.
No. There's no consensus. You have no. There's not. No, there's no.
The main block is named Hip Hop Avenue. It's no way.
That's a block. The academic consensus is this is Black American music that extends from the blues. That's the consensus, brother.
The consensus.
Pick up a book.
The consensus amongst the eyewitness accounts.
That's not true. Even in New York. Even in New York, I have my brother DJ Faze calling all the time. DJ Faze out in New York. He said it himself that Kool Herc didn't start nothing. The eyewitnesses back then talking about Grandmaster Flowers, DJ Disco King Mario. They were talking about these guys who were doing what Kool Herc got credit for in 1973. Disco King Mario was doing in 1967, according to eyewitness New York accounts. But you weren't here, so you don't know that. You weren't in America, so you don't understand this. All I'm saying is this: you moved to a country that has had music going back 200 years, going back the first exported music out of America in 1818 was a Black American out of Philadelphia named Francis Johnson. For more than 200 years, Black America has been created the music and the culture for this country. And hip hop was just the newest evolution of a old school thing. You did not educate yourself on the history of this place. You came in and you heard propaganda. And let me tell you why you heard that propaganda. The reason why you heard that propaganda is because the United States of America's relationship, the United States of America's relationship with Black Americans is to discredit us for all of our inventions. They discredit us
Nobody
for
discredited,
they discredit us for
they
discredit us from inventing the light bulb. They discredited us from inventing the light bulb. They discredited us for inventing the all the different parts on the train. They discredited us from inventing our own music. They discredited us from inventing rock and roll. They discredited us from inventing jazz. They discredited us from inventing
Who is
blues.
discrediting African Americans from inventing rock and jazz?
Where the
You could
fuck
go to
have you?
Congo
Where
Square.
have you
You
been? Again,
brother,
you
you
don't,
could go to Congo
brother.
Square right
This
now
just
and it's
shows
gonna
you
say
don't
this is the
know.
birthplace
This
of
just
jazz.
shows you
Nobody's
don't
disputing that.
know. This just shows you don't know your history. In America, they say in New Orleans, like you said earlier, it was a combination of African and French. Even though you cannot name one African or French person that had anything to do with the start of jazz, it's still they still get. And you start the conversation by giving the credit to jazz to African and French. Yet you cannot name one African nor one French person. You helped prove my point with how you
Oh,
started
I
this
understand. You
conversation.
think you're a Native American. I get it
No,
now.
brother, listen, listen,
Are you an
listen.
African American or are you a Native American?
Okay, you don't want to talk. You lost. It's over with.
I'm just asking.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hang up and I'm gonna finish my point because you're no longer want to have a real conversation. You're from somewhere else. You moved to a culturally rich country. You did not study the history of this country. You, matter of fact, what's even worse, what's even more insulting from brothers like that, they don't even study the history of their own country, of their own culture, and ask themselves, how did we go from soca to hip hop? He doesn't even know that ska, rocksteady, and reggae are Black American rhythm and blues offshoots. And that's the problem. People who are not from here. That's what it comes down to, folks. These people do not have respect. That brother right there, he was nice. He was cool. He wasn't loud. But at the end of the day, he has no respect for Black Americans. Because had he had respect for Black Americans, he would realize, one, I'm on their land and I'm new here. Let me shut up and learn, especially if somebody's giving me academic information, giving me books I can read, interviews I can watch. If you're humble and have respect for a culture, you're going to listen to the people from those streets, not other people from your culture that's lying to you. It comes down to these people not having respect for Black Americans. And that's why I didn't hang up on him. He hung up. All right. I said I was going to hang up, but he hung up because he has no respect for Black Americans.